Society has been completely urbanized. The street is a place to play and learn. The street is disorder. This disorder is alive. It informs, it surprises. The urban space of the street is a place for talk, a place where speech becomes writing, a place where speech can become savage and by escaping rules and institutions inscribe itself on walls. Through the power of symbolic resistance, art becomes more than a message of social commentary, more than an object of beauty. Follow us on this artistic journey to the making and unmaking of development through capitalism, Eurocentrism, human rights, gender, and sustainable development.
More than an economic system based on private ownership, capitalism became a way of life we are embedded in. In the Communist Manifesto, Karl Marx describes capitalism as a system in which all that is solid melts into air. Capitalism is plastic. It can be adapted to different social environments, from production to consumption, from art to finance. It absorbs everything. This Bamke's piece is powerful and disruptive message about how capitalism works. National symbols are developed to be consumed. Capitalism is the selfish joy of consumption as well as its hidden face. Marx named this as the fetishism of commodities and its secret, because as he claimed, we are all swimming in the ice-cold water of egotistical calculation. Thus, it becomes an important approach for the understanding of development, and in this sense, one has to ask, does capitalism promote real development? Are we in fact developing? How does capitalism concretely link to development?
Are we who think we are, or just puppets of Western ideologies? Why do we see the world the way we do? The remnants of capitalism has engraved in our society an ideology of what is right or wrong, generating in us a Eurocentric view of life. The westernization of indigenous beliefs and practices created terms of dualisms such as civilized, barbaric, developed, underdeveloped, which countries of the global south have accepted as their reality, using the Western society as a point of reference for daily life. The global south is confronted with an underlying presumption of a superior white Western self. Eurocentrism divides the world into the West and the rest, our nations, their tribes, our culture, their folklore, our defense, their terrorism. But wouldn't it be nicer to see the world without division and differences, to have a world with common values and human rights?
In 2014, Brazil organized the World Cup, spending more than 10 billion US dollars, mostly constructing stadiums. Meanwhile, 42 million people were living below poverty line. Isn't that ironic? Is economic growth necessary to obtain human rights or the other way around? Are we putting the carriage before the horses? Critical moments such as the death of 146 workers in a factory in New York in 1911 served as a foundation stone for the claiming of several rights such as labor rights, voting, access to education, among others. Despite the long and painful journey to have legal and universal human rights, equal access to decent housing, reasonable working conditions, gender equality, the right to education, health, protection, and other services for vulnerable communities still remain a big challenge. Nowadays, human rights can be seen as a way to humanize the development. Universalism of human rights is claimed to be the ideal stage. However, the debate of their universal nature versus the cultural and context relativisms remains active on the academic, professional, governmental, and community circles. Are human rights applicable worldwide? Are all societies in the world ready and similarly configured to be subjects of human rights as we know them today? Who needs to be equal to whom? Equal in individual needs or equal in gender?
Let's talk about gender. In the arena of human rights, gender plays a very important part. Many people face violence because of their gender and sexual identity. How could one work on human rights and development without looking into gender equality? But what really is gender, and what is the difference between gender and sex? Gender is a concept which recommends the social and cultural differences between the two dominant sexes, male and female. Gender identity traditionally is limited to the notion where individuals identifies him or herself either as masculine or feminine. The critique on sex role socialization theory has taught us that a person's sex cannot determine his or her gender. Gender is a social construct. Gender equality is more than a goal in itself. It is a precondition for meeting the challenge of reducing poverty, promoting sustainable development, and building good governance.
Capitalism has created a society filled with greed, exploitation of resources, human rights violation, and gender inequality. In an attempt to correct these systemic problems, the United Nations developed the Sustainable Development Goals, which has 17 targets aimed at tackling poverty, inequality, and promote sustainable management of natural resources. Although the goals are internationally accepted, the targets are too universal, neglecting local uniqueness of each country. Isn't it too ambitious to achieve these goals in 15 years? 169 targets seems like just listing good normative indicators. Furthermore, the 17 goals are all seen as a priority, which makes nothing a priority. Moreover, these ambitious goals are not supported by some elites who are actually mandated to take them forward. The most recent example we can relate to is of the newly elected president of USA, who denies climate change up to the level of canceling the Paris Agreement for the sake of national economic growth.
Development today displays a series of questionable scenarios between theory and practice that hinders and enables development worldwide. We could never undertake the mission of answering them all, but we do hope we have left you with some good thoughts for reflection through our work. But most importantly, we invite you all to remain open to the challenging concepts with development and enjoy the journey of the making, unmaking, and remaking of development.